Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my world of modeling. Dan here as always, and in today's video I'm going to be getting you guys up to date on all the newest projects that I've been working on, and I'm also going to be getting you up to date on the layout and just some other changes I've been doing, just kind of with my whole workbench area right now, and some other little plans and stuff like that. So we actually have a lot, honestly, to cover today. First and foremost, I want to say I apologize for the slow pace with the videos lately. I know we missed last month, with last month's update. I wanted to try to post something then. I was just honestly going through a lot of stuff. I was really busy and I wasn't able to really film or finish anything because at that point I really hadn't had any projects actually completed. To fill you in real quick, I've been going with a lot of stuff. I kind of had a loss in my life recently, which it kind of sucked, and this is where it ties in with the model stuff. I had to really put a lot of stuff away for a while. I couldn't even work on models probably for a couple weeks. I just had to kind of get back on my feet and really just refocus on life and also work on some other stuff, but at the same time it gave me some, I guess, free space to kind of reevaluate the things I actually want to do in my hobby right now, and also readjusting some things with space and the way I've been doing my model work and things like that. Just kind of rearranging some stuff in the house. I've been working on vehicles. I have two vehicles right now. I have a truck and a Cadillac that I've been working on too, so I've been dedicating time to that. My work right now is just out of control. We can't keep employees at my job right now, so it's really hard for me because I'm trying to manage hours and things like that and still be able to keep up, but it's very hard right now. It's not easy doing this kind of stuff right now. I'm a chef, in case anyone didn't know, so that's my primary job. That's my main source of income. Selling models and doing stuff like that also helps supplement my hobby quite a bit. That's how I'm able to afford buying new models and stuff like that right now, but with everything that's been going on with work, I just haven't been able to complete projects. That's the honest truth. So last month I completely missed out on making an update video for you guys because I said initially I wanted to start doing some updates kind of at the end of the month to kind of get you guys up to date on everything, where you guys can expect that, and it's kind of a routine sort of a thing. At the end of the month, it's a video kind of series you guys can look forward to, and I just wasn't able to deliver this last month just because of so many things. So I apologize for all that, but now we can get into the good news. I've been getting back into the hobby very slowly, and I've been also working on some other different projects. Really a lot of box cars right now. I've been doing some hopper cars, and I'm going to start working on some tank cars kind of here and there, so I'll get you guys up to date on all that. And another reason why I've been so busy and honestly unable to make videos is this reason right here. This is why I've been busy. This is the current newest addition to the family. Don't be antisocial. What are you doing? Jeez. This little Japapa here, her name is Mina. She's a little mini dachshund. I've had her for 3 weeks now, and she's been keeping me real busy, so it's been quite a bit of work trying to get adjusted in the house and really get her used to being in the house, getting used to having her out in a kennel, things like that. So there's a lot with puppies, and of course potty training, so I've just been so busy with this that has honestly been distracting me quite a bit. But honestly, it's been a good break from the hobby. I've been able to kind of get a refreshed look on what I really want to accomplish, especially with the layout. Just kind of do a lot more planning right now, not so much actual modeling. But as I said, I have recently been kind of getting back into modeling some stuff again. So this little puppa, she might, as she grows up, make a couple more appearances in videos, so we'll see how that goes. Do you want to get down? Okay, we'll let you get down. Come on. So to get you guys caught up on the layout, I obviously was dealing with a little bit of stuff. And when I was out here trying to do the model railroad work on the scene here with the structure and all that, that really burned me out. And I had to really step back and take a break and kind of rethink some stuff. And I was also frustrated with the issues that I'm having out here with my ballast. Just for whatever reason in this section, I have a lot of spongy ballast. And it really sucks because this stuff is expensive and you have to try to break it up and then peel it back and then try to repair it. And you don't want to waste ballast, but what I end up having to do is to replace it, you got to pull it all back up and then reballast it and then correct the issue, like I had to do in, for example, in this section. So that's just something annoying that I've had to deal with, but I am going to try to come back out here and start filming some more. Obviously, we got to get all this road work done, and then we got to get the structure in its final position. We really got to finish the structure over there. That's something I got to work on. Backdrop wise, I'm thinking of putting in a small backdrop in this section so I don't have to scenic all this area here, because we obviously have this awkward empty triangle of nothingness, and I don't want to just have that there. So I'm thinking of maybe building like a wedge in here that runs along the track that would kind of match up maybe to how it is here, or even better if we laid in a piece of thin strip plywood, we could actually curve it out maybe and then have it match the contour of the curves and then meet right here, and then maybe have another section of backdrop in here possibly. I'm not really sure how exactly I want to do that. And then of course probably have some backdrop in here. I would dead end here, and then I'd have maybe like a cutout that I could cleverly disguise in for this track, because eventually I do want to be able to have a connecting section of modules that be here like an industrial spur of some kind that I could actually use this track for. I thought that'd be an interesting little thing I could do with it, because obviously I had this little spur and I thought, well, it's prototypical, but I could also utilize this for something. So that's another project for another day. But we got a lot more work to do out here, and hopefully maybe this week or next week I can come out here and start working again. Now that we have some warmer weather. And another thing I got to do is paint more track and then start ballasting this section as well, so I can start working on that too. So all in time though, but that's just the update for out here. I do have some other things I want to change, but I'll save that for another video. So before we jump into the projects that I want to show you guys, I actually want to show you what I've been doing with my workbench lately. I've just been getting tired of a little bit of this clutter and always having stuff piled all over the place, depending on my different projects. So what I've actually been working on is getting a shelf installed above my workbench. And as you can see, it's a nice stylized modern IKEA type shelf. I also have another one over here that I've installed, a decorative shelf. It makes the room look really a lot nicer. And I've also installed these curtains, but I'll talk about the curtains in a second. The shelf here, what my idea here is to move some of my paint stuff, like my paint pens, stuff like my decals, up to this level. You see I got a spare test power pack here. I have model boxes of various locomotives and cars that I'm working on currently. So this is a nice little thing that I've done, because now it alleviates having to pile up all this crap up on my dining room table. So now this stuff is in my living space where I like to be able to relax. It's annoying. I've now solved that problem by bringing all my work stuff in here and storing it up on this shelf. So as you can see, I have cars in the ready to be taken out, like some carbon black cars, some tank cars, some ballast cars, hoppers, stuff like that. And I'm going to move some more stuff in here. The top shelf, I'm going to probably just put some decorations, maybe a display of some sort up there. We'll see what happens. But this has been a nice little project that I got. It was a relatively cheap shelf, probably maybe 25 bucks online on Amazon or something like that. Got it in 3 days free shipping, and it's been wonderful. Super easy to install. A little tedious to get up on the wall, as shelves like these generally are, but it worked out pretty well. Afternoon's worth of work, and I got it up here. So this has been a super big help, because I've been able to kind of move a lot of my stuff up from off my workbench up to here. And so my idea is either start moving all of this stuff up here, or get other tool type shelves like this, put them along here maybe. I got to do some more thinking. There's a lot of potential here. The other thing I've been thinking of is possibly getting another monitor, maybe getting a bigger monitor, not only because I use this for my work, but also for gaming. Because I bought this tower a couple years back for my video game stuff, so I also might be upgrading this too. But there's just a lot of steps I've been trying to take to kind of solve my issues with this workbench, and I might even do a little bit more change. You know, I might even change these drawers out or stuff like that. We'll see what happens. I just kind of got to figure things out. But it's honestly been a really nice step in the right direction, and maybe even this stuff, if I find different drawers, I can start maybe migrating up to here, or maybe I have styrene drawers up here, for example, stuff like that. But even having stuff like this decal box off my floor finally and up here has been a huge change. So the point I'm trying to make here is work smarter, not harder. Find solutions to your issues, and it makes your hobbies so much more enjoyable. And I can definitely say that it's been a huge help. Another idea I've actually had is maybe getting a smaller lamp like this and actually having one up on this shelf angled down, or even maybe having some kind of little tripod fixed down here, so I can actually maybe have a camera set up above my workbench and looking down, which would alleviate the issue of having a tripod between my legs here when I'm working. It does get a little bit tedious having a large ass tripod like this tripod in particular in the way. When it's set up right here and you have a camera in your face and you're trying to lean over the camera and then film what you're working on, it's a little hard, especially if I'm doing a live narration while I'm working. It's next to impossible to not have to do multiple takes. So that also might solve that problem. So lots of different ideas I'm going to be playing around with in here, but honestly I'm super excited. I think we're going to have a lot of fun this year. We're kind of refiguring stuff and changing up a couple different things. I've also been getting these Bluetooth speakers. These are nice because I can put these all around my room to play music. So I have one over in this corner. I will probably migrate up to here, and I actually have another one on that shelf over there. But that's more of a decorative shelf. That's not hobby stuff, just more of a display shelf for random stuff. Okay, so the last thing I want to show is these curtains. The curtains are a huge thing because sunlight comes in both of these windows. Since my room of the house is on the southwest corner of the house, sunlight comes in from this window and of course this window most parts of the year. So it just shines directly into my window, and as I'm working, a lot of times I get sun glare and things like that on my workbench, which is annoying even when I'm doing picture taking and stuff like that. So these curtains were a very cheap but simple investment, and they completely block the light out. If I need to, I can completely close them, and if I want just a little bit of light, I can of course open them up. So now with all the updates out of the way, now we can get into the models. And for model stuff, I have a couple different cars I've been working on. This one here is an LPG tank car, and it's one of two GATX Athearn RTR cars from their very first run of these late cars that I actually re-weathered. And initially the first stage of weathering I did on it was good, but there were some other things I needed to touch up and address. So I changed some of the car side data. A lot of times they repaint and patch over the LPG decals on the sides, and then I'll put these little vinyl strips on the sides to cover them sometimes, and you'll see these get replaced, peeled off, that kind of thing. So I ended up replacing some of the stenciling. I added this little bit of graffiti here to the side, and again I just refreshed some of the weathering, kind of some of the rust running down from the top around the hatch area and coming down from these walkway struts here. Other than that, both of the cars are the same, so I'm not going to show the other one because it's basically the exact same kind of car, the exact same paint scheme. But you get the idea of what I was trying to do. It's got a nice subtle fade to it and a little bit of grime work as well. Here at ground level you can see the nice little bit of graffiti work we did there, relatively newer graffiti. The re-stencil area is there. And then the cool thing on the ends is the, well, probably better do this end, shows up a little bit better, the kick-up splatter, which I updated. I did a little bit of grease, a little bit of mud, and everything else to enhance that. And as you can see, it looks fantastic on a large car like this. I've been working on a few different box cars, and mainly TTX cars, just because I've been in the mood ever since the Atlas box cars dropped, the new T boxes. But I actually had two of the older Athearn Gunderson cars in storage since 2017 out in my garage, and I figured it was definitely time to work on them. So I found some prototype photos online of different cars, not these exact car numbers, because most of the time with Athearn they choose numbers that don't exist, so you can't, you know, scrutinize them for getting artwork wrong or something, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, I chose some different artwork from different cars to piece together the graffiti that you see here on this model. Backing up a little bit though, one of the things I had to do, since this was an older scheme, I faded down the entire car and the roof, did a lot of grime on the underbody, and you'll notice the slight discoloration on the TTX logo. That's because the TTX logo was replaced at a point in time on these cars. It originally had the older TTX style logo from the 2000s, and it was replaced with the modern forward-thinking logo, this one here. So I actually masked this area off on the car because this artwork was on the model, and then I faded over it, took the tape off, and that gave me that really cool patch effect. All the graffiti is hand-painted, as I've said, and it's just copied from photos. I did some small tags and things like that. I did a little bit of logo chipping, lots of scrapes and scratches on the sides, a little bit of rust forming, and all kinds of other little details. I added new KD couplers, the custom-made air hoses, which I talked about how to make in my previous how-to video on how to make the pivoting style air hoses. Of course, there's some updated patchwork, and new safety striping has been applied. The opposite side of this car here has some fantastic graffiti as well, and there's a little bit more of a subtle difference in patchwork, indicating this was done at a different time. You can see they re-stenciled the data there, added the COTS block, and all the other appropriate data where they needed to, and then they re-stenciled the number and actually spray painted the T-box lettering on there. Other than that, it's pretty much the same method for the patchwork, the fading, little bits of grime, and some other little rust effects and things like that. Lots of dust on the doors, lots of grime, of course, on the trucks, on the couplers and everything like that. Up close and personal with the car, you can really see the amount of diverse effects that I've applied to this car. If we take a look at the opposite side there as well, you can really see a lot more of those rust pits that I'm talking about. Just remember, these are going to generally be around the door area. That's where you're going to want to model these. A lot of times I'll paint that over the graffiti as well, because the graffiti will usually get shredded up. I did also add some of the barcode tags to the side of the car, but as you can see, with time they've peeled off. And on the roof itself, you can see I've added the sealant, a little bit of sealant spillage, and even some fresh rust. Here is the second TTX car, and this one was pretty much done the exact same way I did the first one. I faded the car body down. I remembered to mask over the TTX patch to make it look like it was redone. I hand painted all of my graffiti from prototype photos of a similar T-box, and of course it's got all the nice little rust bits, some pitting, some scratches on the door track, various layers of old and new graffiti mixed together. I really like the patchwork on this car too. They used an interesting style of font for the patchwork. That's actually a very common railroad font that you see, and I've actually made custom decals for this style of car to get all the patchwork and everything done. The opposite side is pretty much done the same way. I just hand painted the graffiti, did some patchwork, replicated the safety striping. You can see it's a mixture of old and new graffiti. You got lots of little cool rust effects, little dot techniques, just done with some oils just here and there, maybe some acrylic. The new safety striping was basically put right over the graffiti. That's generally how they do it. This side has some do not load on this side of car decals, and those are from Smokebox Graphics. They offer those kinds of decals in several different boxcar data sheets that they offer, mainly the BKTY decal sheet, I believe, but they really do a nice job replicating some of those decals that you do see on the real cars. Nice up-close shot of this car here. I really like all that rust there. There's a good look at that TTX patch, and then if we look at the opposite side, we can talk about that patchwork again. So I actually had the lettering for this, or rather the numbers, custom made by I'm trying to think of who they are. It's not Smokebox, it's not Highball, it's Circus City Decals. Matt does fantastic work. If you need custom decals made, hit him up. If you have good resolution photos at a good angle, he can pretty much make anything. So in this case, he made me up a nice set of these decals for the re-stencil. And then of course you can see all the reway data has been added, all the good stuff there. And it just really enhances the look of the model overall. Of course the roof is pretty much done the same way as well. You got the sealant spillage here and there, all splattered over, and then some fresh rust just starting to form on the top of the car. Moving along, I got an Atlas T-box now, and this is the first one I did, and I wanted to model a factory fresh car, because where I live, I see a lot of these new cars traveling up and down on CSX. Some of them get on Norfolk Southern too. You'll see strings of the brand new ones. Even the newest edition, where all the data is up here in the top corner, similar to how ARMN reefers are done up. But I wanted to model, like I said, a factory fresh car, so I did a high gloss finish on this with Testors high gloss finish. I'm using the old stuff, not the new. The new Testors is terrible. We can argue about that for hours. I did add the new air hoses to this, of course. I repainted the coupler lift bar blue, because on the new cars they're painted blue. I added the blue bearings to the wheels, and I also tried to replicate the sprayed stenciling on the wheels a little bit with some acrylic paint to just cleverly hide that. I added the new safety tape. This car does have a little bit of graffiti. It's just been scribbled on there by an artist climbing up on that ladder. And then on the opposite side, it's pretty much the same thing. On this side, though, I did replicate some newer graffiti. This is basically fresh graffiti. It's nice and clean. Nothing's been done to it. Paying close attention here, you can see how the artists in the modern day like to spray around card data, because they've all become aware of how if they paint over card data, most of the time the railroads will patch over it and their artwork is ruined. So this is something I wanted to replicate on this model, and I was able to pull that off. I really like the detailing on the car after I got it all updated. The graffiti is a really nice enhancement as well. here, if we get to look at it, you can see the little bits of graffiti just here and there. I really like it though, especially in this corner right here. You have a lot of that small scribble. That's all done with pencil, Sharpie, Micron pens. It's a great way to enhance your boxcars because this is the kind of artwork that you see. It's not just the large pieces of graffiti, but the small scribble. While we're still talking about the TTX boxcars, I am in the process of weathering another one up. You can see I've already gotten one side done with the graffiti. I still got to do graffiti for the opposite side, but for the most part I have the trucks painted and prepped. I have the bearing caps painted, new couplers added, and then the custom pivoting air hoses have been added. I still got to paint the coupler lift bar, and then of course do the weathering to the side, which would just be a lighter wash, and then I got to do the graffiti for this side. Other than that, it's just about done. So the next cars I've been working on are covered hoppers, and I've been actually trying to make some different kinds of covered hoppers for phosphate service. Being that I live in Ohio, CSX hauls lots of phosphate cars, see them all the time. One of the big carriers you see is ITFX, and they haul a lot of phosphate using these old BNSF cars. Now, in this case, to make this model here, I used a BNSF 4750 from Intermountain, a little bit of a hard car to find. But I found this one on eBay for 35 bucks, buy it now. I went ahead and snagged it up, and what I did was I stripped off all the lettering and basically did a full repaint of the car to get the appropriate car body color. And then I did all the custom patching. I used some Smokebox Graphics Helvetica decals to do the ITFX patches. I then added all the new data. I added safety striping, and another one of the big things I did was I wanted to model a late Trinity, or not a Trinity style, but the late phase 4750 that has the slightly different style late jacking pads, and then it also has the different walkway on the ends. There's some other differences with the walkway, but I just couldn't model it with the Intermountain car. You could do it if you wanted to, but I just didn't want to put that much work into it. So I ended up changing at least the end walkways so that they have these supports. That's a late phase feature as well, along with the jacking pads. I modified the hatches, and then I, like I said, just did all that detailing, repainted the car, and then I did all the heavy phosphate weathering, doing all this nice dusty streaking down the side. That's all done with oil paint. I did all the nice grime weathering on the underbays, on the ends, and it all turned out super nice. If we look at the opposite side of this car, it's pretty much the same thing. I really just wanted to focus on a car for the weathering, not for really anything else. I just wanted to go in detail with all the effects there, and it ended up turning out really well. I'm super happy with how this car came out. The second 4750 here is a Salt car, and this one is an NDYX covered hopper here for Le Pérouse, however you pronounce that. It's French. This is a former grain car, but it's been converted for salt service. All I did here was add all kinds of new patching. I added all the heavy rust, especially around the top. I added new hatches to this thing. Super cheap car. I bought this for 16 bucks on eBay. It came with a set of 4 other cars that I was super stoked to actually find. Another one of those great eBay deals. So I was able to patch it and then do all the rust work to it. And it has a little bit of graffiti on this side. And then on the opposite side, it's more just focused on a lot of that rust work. You can see on the sides here, a lot of the corners there's a lot of that rust runoff, just starting to work down the side of the car. And it turned out super nice. On the top there you can see the amount of rust, and we'll go ahead and take the camera off the tripod again so we can get a good close-up shot of all this rust. There you can see it all. Nicely beat up logos, the new patchwork, safety striping's nice and beat up. And then you can see on the underbays, no stone has been left unturned here. There's all kinds of rust rot on the bottom, just eating away the car. It's hours and hours of rust flaring. There's the patchwork on the end there, and you can see the kick-up spray with all that rust. Same thing with the brake end of the car there. This side coming back to this, you can see the graffiti, and then all the fresher rust mixed in with the newer and older. The patchwork came out really good. You can see it's starting to chip away, peel away. The trucks are nicely weathered. There's all that good heavy rust work. That's what everyone loves to see, is a good rusty covered hopper. The top here, of course, has all kinds of nice rust. It's that nice rusty, dusty looking rot, and it's just turned out fantastic. This next covered hopper here is a really cool topic piece. It's actually a Freelance car. When I did this paint scheme, I didn't realize that this was only a paint scheme used on the 4740 style car, so the slightly smaller grain service car. I don't believe this was ever used on a 4750. As far as I know, I haven't found pictures of one. But I was trying to mimic an Intermountain car here, and actually a patch scheme that Intermountain offered years ago that you can never find. So what I actually did was, a friend of mine sent me Intermountain car that was patched this way for NOKL as a grain car, not this exact number, and I ended up making another model based on that car by duplicating the artwork. I had custom decals made to match the stencil styles, and I did all this custom painting and everything that you see here, the two-tone scheme, using a tangent covered hopper. So the better version of the 4750 currently available. So it has the really nice detailing. It's another late production 4752, so it has the different walkways on the ends and then the different jacking pads, which I of course added to this car. There's a lot of heavy rust, a lot of really cool patching, new safety striping is added. Again, this is a phosphate car, so this has all the white streaking coming down the side. If we turn to the opposite side of this car, not as much streaking. I kept it a little bit cleaner just so I could focus on the rust work that I did to this. But I really didn't want to go overboard with the weathering on this car because I really liked how the paintwork turned out. And it wasn't until I was just finishing this car that I remembered that this wasn't really an accurate scheme and that it was actually a FUBI, which, you know, it's what it is, but I'm still happy with the car. It still turned out great, and I'm happy that I made it. So the decals are all custom made on this car, also done by Circus City Decals. I want you to take note of all the very fine rust pitting. I did the wavy panel wash on the side to replicate that, and you can see the hours of rust dot work that I did to this, including all the rust streaking. There's lots of nice grime on the trucks and the underbays, of course. That's all pretty much my typical method for weathering. The ends are nicely done with the kick up. Same thing on the other end here. It's got really nice rust spray. Custom decals on this side as well, and then on this side there's a little bit more. Wait a minute, hang on. No. This side. This side has the phosphate spillage. You can see it's started at the hatch, worked its way down, but you can see that nice rust work. It's a lot of time building this up. This is one I finished about a week ago, but it took me about a month to complete, and it was worth every minute, to be honest, because it was just a hell of a lot of fun. The top also came out really nice. You can see it's got the paint peeling and chipping on the hatches. Then again, there's all that nice rust work and streaking and everything else. There's a replaced walkway panel there. Just turned out superb. You guys will love this next 4750. This is a Furex patched covered hopper, and this is another custom tangent 4750. And this one is a salt service car here. You can see I did a lot of rust rot at the base of the car here, mainly on the bays. There's a lot of pitting at the top as well, but we'll cover that with an overhead shot. I used custom made decals for this one again. Another bit of amazing work done by Matt from Circus City Decals. Shout out to him. And on the underbody, there is tons of rust pitting and damage to the bays. The trucks are nicely weathered. There's a little bit of phosphate streaking coming down the side of the car. And then on the opposite side, you have pretty much more or less the same thing. Although on this side, it actually is spilling down on the wheels, which I think is super cool. Again, lots of rust rot, heavy rust on the top, and then custom Furex decals added to this car. There's the custom data, custom patching. You can see all that rust rot and phosphate spillage down the side of the car. Super nice. It's another big project car. This one took quite a bit of time. You can see there's a replaced strip of metal for the ladder. That's another common thing you see. They replaced a lot of the parts on that. Phosphate spillage on the trucks. There's the nice dot weathering on the underbays. Very common. Lots of heavy streaking. Lots of grime and rot. On the opposite side is really where this shows the best. You can see the amount of phosphate spillage. You can see all that really nice work built up on the side of the car, spilling down there. I really like all that rust rot. It just looks fantastic. And then on the underbays, you can see the amount of pitting That's very common. That was actually done with a micron pen. That's a technique I'm going to have to show you guys later on. But the rust work came out really good. The patchwork came out really good. The kick up on the ends, also super nice. And then on the top here you can see the amount of rust. You can see the amount of phosphate spillage there. Turned out fantastic. It's just all dusted all over the top of the car. And of course everything else underneath that is just rust rot. Alright, and then the final 4750 I did was this AEX patched grain car, reconverted for salt service. This is an XPV car. This is actually a Tangent as well. This was one of the more recent releases they did. I did a lot of heavy weathering to the sides. I added safety striping. The patchwork is mostly stock other than the AEX decals. I did change the patchwork slightly because this was originally patched for Sioux Line. I did a lot of heavy rust on the top, lots of work to the hatches, the underbays, everything like that. Lots of grind work on the underbody, on the ends. On the opposite side here you got a little bit of graffiti kind of peeling away. I'll talk about that more when we get up close to it though. So what I was trying to model here was graffiti that's kind of been washed away over time or just kind of peeled away. That turned out pretty good. I used an acrylic paint pen for that and then just dry washed it basically. You can see this car has all the nice pitting, all the heavy rust peeling and everything like that. Nice rusty trucks. The underbays are nice and dirty. Look at that. The heavy rust streaking is another fantastic part of this car. Custom AEX decals there added. And then the top is my favorite part. Look at the rust. Just absolutely insane. Lots of rust all over the place. And then there's a little bit of paint peeling on the hatches there. On the opposite side of the car, you pretty much have, again, this same kind of general rusting. It's all just running down the side. It's a real mess, but you can see all that nice work has been done. I'm super happy with how this one turned out. But that's going to be another salt service car. There you can see the splatter and pitting on the underbays there. Super, super nice. Another cool car I just finished up recently is actually an Atlas Trainman flat car, and I found this paint scheme online for 20 bucks and I went ahead and bought one of these just to give it a try, and I gotta say I'm very happy with the look of the model. I think it does capture the nice details of the flat cars pretty well. Obviously it's a lower quality model compared to some of them, but these are nice cars in the sense that they are a lot more durable, rugged built. They're a good beginner level car, and they're relatively affordable, and they do offer nice modern schemes like this GAEX blue scheme here. So with this car what I did was I just did a light weathering for the entire car. I added safety striping. I really didn't do anything to this other than add KD couplers and a custom load. We'll talk about the load here in a second. I just really want to focus on the weathering. The weathering is super simple just because this is a relatively new car, and I've actually seen a couple of these in person and they all relatively look like this. Some of them might have had some graffiti here added here and there. I did do some grime to the underbody there, but it's again very fresh. It's brand new. On the ends there's a little bit of kick-up splatter, but not much. It's very light guys for a car like this. So other than that, we'll talk about the deck. The deck came out super nice. What I did for the portion of this car was actually weather up the deck, make it look like it was a little beat up. So I did some scrapes, some gouges, did some paint detail work there, and dusted it off quite a bit. On the end boards there you can see some impact damage from loads. It's pretty common. You can see it's all very nicely beat up, and I actually used a metal pick, heated up, and then I just gouged up the plastic with the molten hot tip. It gave me those nice gouges replicating that impact. It's the same thing on the other end of the car. That's also there too. You can see I just added all that, and it turned out really nice. So the pipe load itself is actually custom done. This is by a guy in Kentucky, I believe. He does these really nicely weathered pipe loads. All I had to do with it was mount it to the car, and then I just made my own custom straps from a little bit of black tape glued in place to indicate, or rather not indicate, but replicate the binding that they use, the metal straps and things like that they use to tie the loads down. And I just think it honestly turned out fantastic. I'm going to do this similar method with another bulkhead flat car, so I'll have another car to go along with this one. That's my idea, but the detailing came out really nice. Finishing up, I just want to show you guys some final cars I'm in the works on right now. I got an MWCX 4750 I'm working on. This is an interesting one because this was actually, for the most part, weathered by someone else. It's my first model I've ever bought that was pre-weathered. So I've actually been adding some new weathering to it, and this one is going to be a salt car, but it's actually custom painted. It's a Intermountain 4750 I got on eBay, patch for MWCX. So I'm just kind of in the works of updating the weathering, just kind of finishing the work that this gentleman started. You can see I already added the wavy panel wash. I finished the patching on the CNW logos, and I'm just working on the underbays right now. But this will be a car, probably by the next video, it should be done. But you can see it's just got another layer of oil added to it. It's a burnt umber oil. So that's kind of all got to dry up still. And then, of course, I got to do some more possible load spillage. I got to finish the decaling, add safety striping, modify the bays, and then get some trucks for this thing. So that's another car you can keep an eye on. This is another car I'm working on. It's going to be another Porn Kings covered hopper. You can see it's just in the process of getting some graffiti here right now. I just painted one side. I still got to do the Porn King graffiti on this opposite side, and then of course finish the patching. But this is the third out of all of them that I've done, and this is the last one. I did 3 of them to sell off. Both sold very quickly, and I made some decent money off of it to pay bills. So I figured I'd do one more. I already got a buyer lined up for this thing, so when it's done I'm going to be shipping it off to California. But there's another car you guys will be able to hopefully see by the next video. Alright, so 6337. I haven't finished this model yet, but I'm going to try to plan to in the next month. I'm going to hope that I can get everything finished and pieced back together. But you can see I have everything painted. It's just a matter of assembling everything now, getting the handrails back on, and putting it on the chassis. But for the most part, the locomotive is more or less finished in terms of weathering, other than some powder work. But this is a really cool locomotive. It's currently out on the WSOR working on local service and everything like that. There's the cab. So of course I got to build a cab interior for this thing and all those other details. So that's all going to have to come up. You can see I did at least get the control stand on there, or rather the console, and some basic weathering. But I'm going to keep it pretty clean because the real one's actually relatively clean, other than some pretty heavy paint chipping. But I'm not modeling that for my unit. And then the underbody's in there. Of course I got some other cars in there. I still got to finish the CDX cars. I got some MLLX cars I got to work on, and some other things just kind of randomly piled up. So lots more projects to go. But guys, I want to thank you for watching and sticking with me here. If you're new to this channel, subscribe for more content. I got a couple more weathering videos that I'm working on right now, slowly but surely. I'll have another update at the end of April coming up here, and we're going to keep plugging away on the model railroad. I am currently filming another review, and I am also filming another video for the layout to get you guys up to date on the buildings and everything that I'm doing out there. So you guys can stay tuned for that. But I want to thank you guys for watching. Subscribe here for more content. Follow my work on Facebook and Instagram. My Facebook page is Daniel Arnold. My Instagram is Dan E. Dankinson. It is all lowercase, and you guys can follow me there, of course, to see what kind of projects I'm working on. But thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.